I don't even remember the last time it was that we had talked about this player. It's been so long. And honestly, I don't think it actually has been too long. It's just the last time we did talk about this guy, it was probably before the draft, and during that time frame we were getting ready to do everything, and then free agency hit, and there were a whole bunch of rumors and actual signings and trades that went down, so this has kind of been buried. You know, it's one of these stories where it was kind of there, but we have not been focusing on this at all the past few days. So, let's go to the fourthperiod.com, because what David Pagnotta and his crew recently published was an update article on one Winnipeg Jets forward, Nikolaj Ehlers. Now, this is the second day in a row we are talking about a Winnipeg Jets forward. The last one, yesterday, we had talked about Rector McGroarty and the red flags with him and his prospect trade situation. But when it comes to Ehlers, he is not a prospect. You could say there are very few red flags here, and he's in a much different spot than the aforementioned McGroarty. Ehlers is 28 years old, and his contract at $6 million a year expires next season. But there has already been very expressed interest in Ehlers' party to not stay in Winnipeg. He would welcome a change of scenery, and he likely does not want to stick around with Peg City. So, with this in mind, we have talked a whole bunch about rumors, where the Jets are reportedly shopping him to, what teams could be in on him, and how this will all play out. And for good reason too, because Ehlers is a very good player. This previous season he had 61 points in 82 games played. His career high has roughly been in that 60-point range. He has accomplished the feat 4 times, I'm pretty sure. Actually no, 3 times, but he was on pace to doing it another time. He's mostly been in this territory, but if he has a really stellar popping off kind of year, I wouldn't be surprised if Ehlers had like a 75-point season at least once by the end of his career. But either way, the 28-year-old forward has been more or less a solid, stable NHL player. And you can't really go out there and fault the guy. He plays with pace, he can snipe pucks in, he's creative offensively, and he works hard. Ehlers is a very versatile option. So, when it comes to the David Pagnotta piece, let's go out there and read how the Jets and Hurricanes may be working on a trade. This was actually in reference to the Dylan Coghlan move, which actually did end up happening the other day. We didn't make a video about this because it happened when I was sleeping, but either way, this was a trade that did go down. Dylan Coghlan sent over to Winnipeg. Outside of that deal, though, various reports have suggested a larger trade may be in the works that could involve Jets forwards Nikolaj Ehlers or top prospect Rector McGroarty. Ehlers, as the fourth period's David Pagnotta first reported on June 5th, is open to a move and would welcome a change of scenery, prompting the Jets to explore the trade market. Talks involving Ehlers have spanned weeks, and the Hurricanes are among the teams that have expressed interest in him. The Canadiens, Islanders, and Bruins are among some of the other teams who have also been interested in Ehlers, who is not interested in signing an extension with the Jets. And so, the article also says here that Ehlers has a 10-team no-trade list, so there is a little bit of flexibility there on Ehlers' behalf when it comes to where he's going to go. And so what I wanted to do in this video was talk about the possibilities, which other teams could be in on this. Honestly, the main one, Carolina, I feel like this is such a Carolina kind of player. Like, you talk about Marty Necas and his potential departure from the Hurricanes. I feel like if you replace Necas with Ehlers, your team isn't really getting significantly worse. If anything, I think it's remaining kind of the same. Necas and Ehlers play very similar offensively tuned games, and honestly, there is a lot more to like out of both of these guys than there is to dislike one from the other by. If you're taking a look at it, this could be seen as a lateral move where two guys who want changes of scenery could get it. And for Ehlers, of course, him playing with a new organization that's a lot speedier and a lot more, I don't want to say like top-heavy, but it's a lot more refined offensively in Carolina compared to what the Winnipeg Jets have. I think that'd be a really good fit for Ehlers personally. But when it comes to the other teams, of course, we had to go out there and talk about my Montreal Canadiens, because having Ehlers on this team, alongside of Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, Slafkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield in the top 6, would be absolutely lethal. Now, of course, that may not last into the long term. One of these guys' spots would be replaced by Ivan Demidov once that guy makes his NHL debut. Move Newhook down to the third line and have him play with Michael Hage or something, who really knows. But Having Ehlers alongside of this Canadiens lineup, I feel like his overall versatility offensively would be such a compliment to that second line with Dach and with Newhook. Just the dynamism there, the goal scoring, the overall projectability. He would be one of the better offensive players on the entire team, bar none. And if he wants to sign, the Montreal Canadiens could give him a lot of dough. I mean, it's not like they have too much money committed to their top guys. I mean, they're all signed for $7-point-something million a year, which is relatively cheap compared to some of the other top superstars in the NHL. Of course, you could say that Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki are not in that Austin Matthews territory, but who's to say that none of these guys cannot get better as the years go on? There's a lot of opportunity here for earning potential if you're a talented superstar playing in Montreal. Now, when it comes to the other teams, the Islanders and the Boston Bruins, the Islanders do need a little bit of extra support up front. You could say they need goal scoring, and their offense, while it has been wishy-washy over the past few years, there's certainly room for improvement there and getting a few more talented pieces to join up. You could say the pacing of Ehlers fits very well with the identity that the Islanders have, but of course, there still needs to be a chemistry fit there. Could you have a line of Barzal, Horvat, and Ehlers work itself out as a legit first line? Do you replace an Anders Lee or whatever? What exactly is the plan there with the Islanders and their forward core if you added this player? Sure, you could say that the Islanders may not be all too competitive in the next few years, especially compared to some of these other teams like Carolina or Boston, but there still is an opportunity here to discover something new should Ehlers find himself onto the Isles. Next up with those Boston Bruins, though, I honestly question the fit here because ever since the Boston Bruins acquired Elias Lindholm, they kind of satisfied most of their needs up front, right? I mean, they've got Pasternak, they've got Brad Marchand, they still have Zacha and Coyle. You could move some of these guys to the wing if you really needed to, and they've got young guys like Lysell and Frederick. I mean, do they really need a guy like Ehlers? Of course, having another guy like that wouldn't hurt, but is that really a necessity for the Bees? Meanwhile, you talk about the potential of next season and beyond. Everybody talks about whether or not a guy like Leon Draisaitl, for example, could head over to the Boston Bruins as well. And, of course, that would shift everybody else down the center core one slot there. Elias Lindholm signing with the Bees to be the number one, only to be the number two the next season when Draisaitl comes over. That'd be kind of funny. But I feel like for the Boston Bruins, a lot of their forward opportunities could be explored with guys down the middle, and other names that we have seen linked to them that aren't necessarily in the same tier as a Nikolaj Ehlers. So I don't really see the fit there. It's probably the least fitting one out of these teams that we had talked about. I do see Montreal as a good fit. I see Carolina as a good fit. And then for the Islanders, I'd see that as a decent fit. But if you're a fan of any of these teams or the Winnipeg Jets themselves, then let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this New York, Montreal, Boston conversation and just this overall Nikolaj Ehlers trade update as a whole? What are your thoughts on these ideas? Do you think they actually make sense? Which teams would you be interested in seeing a trade go down with, and what's the appropriate return? What is the cost for a guy like Nikolaj Ehlers, who does have 1 year remaining at $6 million per, and who could be a 60-70 point guy, and who could come with a contract extension if you play your cards right? He's not too old, not too young either. He's prime-aged, and it's very weird to describe a human being like that. Oh yeah, he's prime-aged right now. I probably should have used a different phrase, but either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Nikolaj Ehlers trade conversation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.